because this is really going to be, I think, the most interesting story
Uh-oh.
of the day.
By the way, there are a lot of stories we haven't been able to tell.
Yes, which is why we have to do a part 2.
We have to
but I can't leave this one out because I think this is one of the most, if not the most extraordinary thing that I ever experienced in my life.
Wow.
Now,
You've
it's
experienced
a long time
lot.
ago. So I'm going to tell you from my memory, and then you tell me what's right and what I didn't get right, if anything.
Okay. Wow.
It's 1990, I think 92. You're on tour with Eric, and you guys are playing Alpine Music Festival
Right.
in Wisconsin.
Right.
Stevie Ray Vaughan is on the bill.
Yep.
This is before the internet. We all wake up to this tragic news that Stevie Ray Vaughan has been killed in a helicopter crash.
Right.
But the initial reports were Stevie Ray Vaughan and members of Eric Clapton's band have perished in a helicopter crash.
Right.
So I get a call in the morning. I've just gotten off the road from a leg of a tour or something, living here in LA. My manager at the time calls me. He says, have you seen the news? Have you heard what? And I'm like, it's 7 a.m. I was like, what's happening? He said, there was a helicopter crash in Wisconsin, and they're saying that Stevie Ray Vaughan was killed. I said, oh my God. And he said, but members of Eric Clapton's band.
Right.
And I go, and he goes, I don't know anything. Now, at the time, in the band is you
Right.
and Greg Fillingates.
Right.
2 of my brothers, 2 of my closest friends.
Yeah.
So I'm calling around because there's no information to be had. I'm calling anybody I know to try to get me the information
Right.
to make sure that you guys are okay. I get word really quickly that Greg was nowhere near it, that he was fine, but there was a question mark about you. And I'm waiting and I'm trying to get information. I'm calling. And finally, about an hour later, my same manager calls me and he says, Richard, I'm so sorry. I went, what? And he said, Nathan's dead. And I get emotional just thinking about it, even now, all these years later. I collapsed. I was sobbing. I was inconsolable. And 20 minutes later, get a call saying, no. He's okay. It was these other people. No, so sorry, but
Never mind.
Never mind. It wasn't Nathan.
Right.
It might have actually even been longer than that. I think it was hours
Right.
of me mourning you. Like I experienced losing you. Like, so then I get the call that it was a mistake, that you're okay. So now I know that you and Greg are okay. But I'm so shaken by the experience. And that night, you called me late that night and we talked for a long time.
Right.
And I told you what had happened. And you went, oh my goodness. And you tell me.
In your town.
And we're both upset. You're obviously really upset because you've lost friends. And it's such a tragic day. And then I remember towards the end of our conversation, you were talking and I wasn't saying much. And you said to me, I remember this, you said, Ricardo, I'm not dead. And I went, but you were. To me, I was told you were.
Yeah.
And it was the most, if you think about it, it's such a bizarre thing that, I mean, to be told that someone very dear to you has been killed.
Right.
And then to have the relief hours later that they're fine. Wow. And here you are sitting here in this room. But that was like really an extraordinary thing for me.
First of all, it was the darkest day of my life.
Yeah, I'm sure.
To this day. And I'll never forget, you're looking out from the Four Seasons that evening, the next evening, which obviously, the news had hit and everything. And as the sun went down and you looked out at that skyline, and it just was the most surreal, dark time and if you can imagine this, people were showing up at my folks' house saying, sorry, we heard about it. Heard what about it? So.
To your parents, that's right, I remember.
So my poor parents, and the other thing is Eric's manager had diverted all of our calls to all of our rooms to his room. So you can imagine, first of all, they get the people turning up and say, we heard about what? Oh, no, they call the Four Seasons. and they say, I would like to speak to Nathan East. All of his calls have been diverted to the management's room.
So that's like, yeah.
So when you get that,
You assume the worst.
yeah. And so it took me 2 tries to ring my mother, and she was so hysterical. And finally,
So she experienced what I experienced.
She experienced
But it's your mother.
This is my mother.
Oh, bless her.
Yeah, no, and it's funny you should even bring that up, because this morning, one of the first pictures I saw, I think, on Eric Clapton's feed is a picture of Stevie Ray Vaughan and Robert Cray and him backstage. And I was there, taking that same picture. It was taken by another photographer. And I had a friend who's a pilot. His name is Jim Scott, George C. Scott's cousin.
Oh, wow.
Talk about stories and everything.
Yeah.
But he had invited me. I'm a pilot, private pilot. So he had invited me to fly on his twin Cessna out of the thing. He invited me to and from. I said, I'll go up on the helicopter with the guys, but I'll go back with you. So I went there and back the night before on that same helicopter, there on the same helicopter. And when I went back, they had a car for me going to the airport, and Stevie Ray Vaughan took the seat, But I can remember taking that picture of them. And then I asked Greg, I said, Greg, you want to go with me? And because we were together.
Because he was headed to the same helicopter,
The
right?
same helicopter. And Greg said, okay. So split second decision again.
Yeah.
And Greg jumps in the limo with me, and we head off to the airport. Unbeknownst to us, the helicopter that we were going to get on never made it back, I got the pilot's card, and it was literally like, and talk about circumstances, I had met that pilot that night, and his daughter was in the audience the night before, and she, we were talking, and then she, oh, my dad's a pilot. Oh, I'm a pilot. Mm-hmm. Oh, you want to go up and back? Because it's a 2-hour car ride, but 15 minutes in the helicopter, right? And so to meet somebody, and that kind of chain of events leads to, I remember Pat Metheny leaving this long message. He was in Brazil, and I thought we were going to work together. And there was, and then my phone, of course, it was the day of the phone answering machines.
Yeah.
Completely.
I'm sorry, your messages are full.
Completely filled in. And I remember when we spoke, I think I ended the conversation with rumors of my death had been
widely exaggerated.
Exactly.
Yes, you made a joke of it, of course, which was good.
But they had announced on the radio, and it was just a very, very, very dark day for the world, and I to this day, just am grateful to be here having this conversation with you, because that literally out of Meigs Field, which is no longer there,
right. I can't imagine I'm sure that we all have come close to a demise within a split second, and never knew that we made that decision. But like the people that almost took the flight on 9/11, you hear those stories. But that had to, I would imagine it still resonates with you now and then, right?
Absolutely. It's one of those, since it's such a dark day, you try not to think.
And you saved Greg's life by accident too.
And he, he thanked me.
Yeah.
Because it could have just been one of those things where I just went on.
He could have just said, "Nah, I'll take the helicopter." Yeah.
Right. And so lots of things kind of go around in my head as I reflect on that day, and one is that, I guess still must be meant to be here.
Yeah.
And
I'm so glad you are.
Well, thank you, brother.
That's such a bizarre story.